Welcome back, everybody. The purpose of this video is to walk you through the controls that are available to you when manipulating a 3D plot in Observatory. Okay, so it's only the keyboard and mouse stuff that you can do after you've already launched a plot. There's a lot of things you can do to customize the controls using some code, but I'm not going to talk about that today. That'll be in a separate video. Similarly, the controls, a lot of these are similar in 2D and histograms and heat map modes, but not all the same, and so I'll have separate videos that cover those cases. For now, we're only going to look at a 3D plot. So I've already downloaded Observatory and activated it on my computer. And if you do the same thing, this is what you should see. Among all these other files, there's an example program. So let's run the examples program. And within that, let's run the Hello World 3D script. And you should see this. And so first off, what are we looking at here? We're looking at a set of actually 10,000 points in each one of these three colors, so 30,000 points total. The points are totally meaningless. I just made them up. They're essentially random numbers. And I put them together just simply to facilitate this example. Okay. So first thing I want to show you is how to rotate, and that's very simple. All you do is click on the background of the plot, click and drag. Now we're rotating. The thing I want you to notice about this is as we rotate, it's as if we're holding an object in our hand and we're rotating it around in front of us to examine it from different angles. Okay, and as we rotate, there is one point that does not translate, and the invariant point is the point in the center of this volume that's spanned by the axes here. So that's rotation. If I hold down the Shift key and click and drag, now we're translating. Okay, so I can rotate, translate, rotate, translate. Similarly, if I hold down the Z for zoom key, and I drag the mouse up or down, I can zoom in and out. And each one of these modes, the rotation, panning, and zooming, each has a fine precision mode as well. And you access that by holding down the control key. So for example, if I'm rotating around like this, and then I start holding down the control key, well, now I'm rotating but with very fine precision. And so that's helpful in a lot of cases when I'm trying to get a very particular angle lined up. Same thing with panning and zooming. Just as you're going through it, hold down the control key and it switches to the fine precision mode automatically for you. Okay, a couple of the things that I have built in here to make it easier for you to manipulate and control the data. One is the escape key. So hit escape and watch what happens. The camera aligns itself directly along the nearest principal axis. So in this case, it looks like we're looking right down the z-axis, I guess. And so a lot of times you're trying to align it just right. You can't get it just right on down the axis, and so escape is your friend. Similarly, with respect to zoom and translation, if you double click on the background, it will reset to the original volume. So escape and double click are your friends. Next thing I want to talk about is single axis control. And by that, what I mean is I can move the mouse over here, for example, over to the y-axis, and when I hover over this, I get a little highlight. If I click on that highlight and then I start dragging, well, now we can pan only along this one axis. Similarly, okay, I can go here, pan only along that one axis. I can also, while I'm clicking, if I use the scroll wheel, I can zoom in and out only on that axis. And similarly, if I double click, I can reset, but only along that one axis. So if I'm way zoomed out here, for example, and I want to reset just the x-axis, boom, we've reset just the x-axis, but none of the others. Okay, and then double click the background, reset the whole thing. So that's single axis control. Next thing I want to show you is a concept called scale equality. And by that, what I mean is if you examine over here the y-axis, it actually ranges over 100 units, maybe 150 units from top to bottom here, whereas the other axes here, the x-axis, ranges by only a much smaller amount. So in truth, if we had a circle or a sphere or a cube inside this volume right now, it would not look like a sphere or a circle or cube because it's actually stretched much more along one axis than the others. So we can, sometimes that's the way you want to look at it, sometimes it's not. If you want to fix the scale across all three dimensions, you simply hit Control E, E for equal, and this is what you get. It automatically adjusts the scale so that now they are all the same. And a right angle would appear as a right angle, a circle would appear as a circle, etc. Alright, so while I'm in this mode, it's a mode that you toggle on and toggle off. So while it's toggled on, if I go over here and I try and zoom along this axis, it's automatically updating the other axes as well so that that right angle property, that scale equality property, is not being violated. Okay? Similarly, if I try and double click on this axis, it's going to reset all of them, not just that one axis, for the same reason. Alright, so I can toggle that off by hitting Control E again, and then I come back here and I can recover the behavior that we saw a second ago. Alright, so that's scale equality. Another very helpful tool here is this select and zoom ability. So if I hold down the S for select, and I select this region, I can click to zoom, and it's going to zoom in on the region that I selected. So let's try that again, and what I want you to notice here is that what it's attempting to do is it's trying to map this rectangle roughly to this rectangle that is spanned by the axes here. So let's try that, and that's pretty much what it does. Alright, so I'm going to reset, and then the last thing I want to show you in this video is the interaction menu. So up here in the upper left, I can go to camera and viewing controls, and here I have buttons and other controls that will allow me to access a lot of the things that we just saw, as well as other things that we didn't look at, with a little bit greater ease in some cases. So for example, let's take this one. If I want to pan the data with fine precision, like we saw before, you could hold down Control, Shift, and drag to do that. If I'm not holding down anything, it defaults to rotation. If I click here, now the default is to pan the data with fine precision. So now I'm not holding any keys, and this is what it does. Okay, so that could make your life easier sometimes. Similarly, for zoom, now I'm not holding any keys, and all the other controls. I encourage you to look around this menu. There are some things that we did not cover in this video that you might also find very helpful. For example, we can toggle between an orthographic projection and a perspective projection, and other things. So that's it for controls in 3D. I'll see you next time.